Hello guys, what's going on? I am Hiroshi from WebStylePress.com. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here, I share tutorials at this channel that can boost up your software engineering skills. So if you want to learn and grow in this area, join this channel by hitting subscribe button and bell icon. In this video guys, we are creating a counter in reactjs that will count up infinitely but count down to 0, and we will be able to pause the counter and reset it as well. Let's start. I have got this function component, and I've got this css file attached to this app, and let me close this explorer, and here are the requirements: count up infinitely, count down to 0, and pause counter and reset counter. Okay, so we will create another component, and here is my source folder, and I will create another file, counter1.js, react function component. Well, I do not need a function component. I am using here a class based component because I need this state. I need to store the counter progress in this state. So export default will be below, counter1, and this is a class based component, class counter1, that will be extending component, and we do not need parentheses here, and we will need a render. Return will go inside the render, and here will be our constructor, and inside the constructor we will have super props, and here will be our state. Count 0. So this will be initial state for our counter. Some text. Okay, let me bring this counter in my main component. Import counter1 from counter1, and here I will place this counter here. Let's save it. Some text, all right, and let me clear up some space. Okay, let's start creating our counter. I will need a label. Type starting point. Such as 10 or 20 or anything. And then I will need input. So input will have on change handler, this dot on change starting point, and then it will have a value, this dot state dot count. Then we will have a break, and after that we will have our counter displayed. Here I will use expression to display counter value, this dot state dot count. So I am using this here everywhere because this is a class based component. Okay, so I will need to move these here. Okay, so our input and the counter value, I will need buttons below this, more breaks and button, and this will be the count up, count down, pause and reset. Each button will have on click event handler, this dot count up, let me just copy this and paste it in each button because we will need click handler for each button. Count up, count down, pause, reset. Okay, we have got the buttons. So these event handlers are pointing towards functions. Let's create these functions now. Count up, and count down, and we have got pause and reset. So these are our functions. Let's style this a bit so that it looks a bit nicer. Label display block, and for the input border none, I want bottom border, and then I want bigger font size, I want space, and then we had count wrap. This one around this counter value. $24px. We need a little bit space here. Okay, so this is count up, count down, pause, and reset. Reset will reset the value of counter to 0. Pause will pause the counter at any stage. Count up will count this counter to an infinite value, and it will keep counting. And if I press count down, it will go to 0. So let's implement logic now. Let's implement count up. This dot set state, and here I will need previous state. Previous state is to avoid inconsistencies, and here I will just use this count and prev state dot count, and just to make sure, I will prev state is not working for some reason. Here I will need this bracket. Now it is all right. Okay, so this is the value previous state dot count, that is 0. Just to make sure it is integer, I will use parse int here, and then I will add 1 in this. So if I will click it, the counter will go up. Similarly, for countdown, I will just decrement the value. For pause, I will have to start an interval here, and I will remove that interval from here. And then reset is simple. For reset, I will just use 0 here. Okay, so count up, count down, and right now it goes to minus value that we don't need, and reset will be this one. Okay, so let's modify count up, and we just need to click it once and then it should increment after each second. So we will use interval here. So set interval, and here I will use 1000 for 1 second. So if now I will click count up once, it will keep counting. And if I go to console, here is something. Failed prop type, you provided a value prop to a form field without an onChange handler. Okay, we need an onChange on the input. Okay, if I reset it, even it is not resetting, it should stop. That is because we used setInterval, and reset button is resetting the value of counter in this state, but our interval is running. So when we use an interval, it gets stored in the browser, and it keeps going on unless we stop it. So we need to clear it, and to clear it we need an identifier like this dot any name is equal to set interval. Now this is our interval name. Now we need to clear it, and I will define that function here, clear interval, and here will be the clear interval, and our interval was this interval, this dot interval name. I have used interval here. It can be any name, you can give it any name. You can just use watcher, and then you can use watcher here, but I am reverting it to interval. I am saving it now. Okay, it is giving me an error of onChange. There was an onChange. This is the input, and it has got onChange event handler. I have not handled it, so let's handle it. onChange, count up, count down, pause, reset, clear interval, and here is the onChange. It was named as onChange. This was the name, this was the function, this one. Okay, so now the error has gone. Okay, so count up, reset will put it back to 0, but it keeps counting it. So we need to call this function clear interval after each count up. in reset here. Okay, so this is our reset button. Now when I will reset, first interval will be cleared and then this state will be 0. So because interval will be cleared, this function will be called. Okay, clearInterval, and this is the handle input, and this is our reset, and this is our pause control. This is count up, count down, and this is count up. So count up, it is counting up. I click reset and it is still going on. Why? Reset was clicked, and in the reset I have used clearInterval. This is the clearInterval, and I am clearing this interval here. This was the interval that was started. Let's refresh it. Start the counter, reset it. It is still not resetting. That is strange. Okay, the issue is, as this is class component, this is the problem. This is why classes are discouraged, and now we have got hooks, but for the learning purpose I am using classes, class based components. So I did not use this here. This was the problem. So now count up, and the counter is running, and if now I will press reset, it will stop. Okay, so now what I want is, I want to call this clearInterval before each function trigger. In reset and on change, in our when our input will be changed, and then in pause as well, and pause actually only needs this clearInterval, and in countdown clearInterval, and even in count up. So whatever button we will click, first the interval will be cleared, and then it will proceed to the logic, whatever the logic is inside. So the count up and pause, so this interval was started, and in pause we cleared the interval, so the counter stopped, and again count up, it is counting, and pause and reset. So reset is working, pause is working, count up is working, and count down is also working. Now we have to use setInterval in countdown as well. We have to use this setInterval inside countdown. and the state change will be inside this set interval. Okay, let's see now. Count up, count down. It is going to negative value that we don't want. We want to go to 0 only. So pause, reset. Okay, first let's handle this on change thing. On change. I will copy this thing from here. Okay, so state, here I will get an event that I am getting by default, and then I will set this state of counter to e dot target dot value, and I will make sure that it's integer. Okay, so now I count up and it counts up, and if I press, let's say something, it will stop because we have cleared interval inside every handler. I will reset it and I will use 40 here, and now if I will count up, it will start from 40. So this is our starting point. Reset starting point, let's say 63. Count up, it will count up from 63, and then count down, pause, reset. So this is also done. Our clear interval is done, our on change input is done, reset is working, pause is working. The only remaining thing is we have to restrict this counter to go down to only 0 and not further than that. We do not want negative value here, and for that we will just apply a check, simple check. So when this countdown is called, first our interval gets cleared, then this is our logic. The interval is started and our state is starting to decrement after each second according to this interval. So we need a check here. If this dot state dot count is greater than 0, then run this. Okay. So count up, pause, count down. So it is still going because the interval was started, and this is going on. So we need to check this thing after interval has started as well. So interval starts from here and ends here, and this is going on inside the interval. We will apply that check here as well. So count down, it will not go down further from 0. and count up, and now count down, and it stops at 0. Count up, count down, it stops at 0. And here also we should clear the interval as well. Inside else. Count up, pause, count down, stops at 0. Count up, reset, and starting from 80, pause. Yep, it is working. And for count up, if I clear interval, if I remove the clear interval, if I don't clear the interval that was started, and now if I count up and then I click at it, and you see this is inconsistency. To answer this inconsistency, we have cleared the interval before triggering anything. So now if I click at it, there is no inconsistency, because after click the interval gets cleared and then new interval gets started and it starts from there. Also, this previous state is to avoid inconsistency. So this prev state gets the previous state and then proceeds from there. And I also should mention here that if you do anything that needs interval and you start any interval based function or anything in a component, you should clear that interval before the component will be unmounted. I mean, this is reactjs, right? And this is a component. It will be unmounted at some point in an application, and you should clear that before unmounting this component. And for that you will need a lifecycle method. Component will unmount. So component will unmount will also have this clear interval. So this is a game of starting an interval and clearing that. While we count up or down our counter, this interval helps us in achieving our control. So count up infinitely is working, and count down to 0 is working, and our pause counter is working, and reset counter is also working. Count down to 0. So when the countdown will be 0, if it will be greater than 0, then this will work. Otherwise otherwise this interval will be cleared. So yeah, our check is working fine. So this was a simple tutorial to handle a counter effectively and putting the controls inside a counter to make it work according to our needs. That's it guys. I hope you liked this video. If I missed anything or you have anything to add, you can comment down below, ask questions related to this topic. If you haven't already subscribe to the channel and hit bell icon to receive updates. Join us on social media, links are in the description below. Stay tuned for more updates. I will see you in the next video and thank you for watching guys. Take care.